Hey, we're back with more River Talk. John Rhodes was really a ball of fire yesterday. We've got him back again today. We talked about the good old days of Myrtle Beach, how you and I came down from North Carolina, and how Deacon came down from West Virginia. And we got friends in both of those states, part of the great story. Basketball, you know, we're going to get into sports tourism, but having grown up right there on Tobacco Road, I mean, that was basketball. Baseball and basketball were the sports up where we grew up.
Yeah, I mean, football was a great sport, and the big rivalry between, you know, the Big Four, Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, and North Carolina, and that was in football and basketball. Virginia, Maryland, the other ACC schools, they were there.
Yeah, they were just there.
But in our area, that was it.
Oh, it was so big, Deacon.
Oh, yeah.
That you could skip school for the ACC tournament. And the teachers would literally just bring televisions into the classroom growing up.
Oh yeah,
it was so huge.
But the one thing is that I don't think you remember it, but one of the most outstanding college basketball events, Christmas events, was called the Dixie Classic.
That was typically
and that was
played around
that was when the Big Four,
yeah,
which was Duke, North Carolina State, and Wake Forest, took on everybody. And, I mean, we had Cincinnati down with Oscar Robertson, Michigan State with Jumpin' Johnny Green. We had Tom Gola from LaSalle. I mean, we had Hot Rod Hundley from West Virginia. So all these teams played there. And then, of course, it went away with the scandals back in the point shaving stuff, and it got shut down. But it was unbelievable because they just had great basketball, and it was packed. I never missed a one.
Yeah. It was phenomenal up there. Is that where you picked up your love of basketball? Did you play as a kid?
I played as a kid, but I never missed a home game at NC State.
Yeah, I knew you were a Wolfpack. Growing up,
yeah.
You grew up as a Wolfpack.
And of course, you know, even though I grew up, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to North Carolina. And my parents told me if they gave me the whole school, I wasn't going. So I went to the next best Carolina.
I get that.
I ended up going to the next best Carolina school there was, and that's Coastal Carolina.
Right.
So I went to
very diplomatic.
I went
Yeah.
to a Carolina school.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but my gosh, man, when you went there, was like 2 or 3 buildings. I remember. Yeah, 2 buildings. I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
And Dr. Dick Singleton was the chancellor, and did a great job at laying the foundation as to what we have today. Without his enthusiasm, his drive, I'm not sure. Of course, back in those days, we wanted to become a 4-year school, and being a part of the Greater University of South Carolina, they did not want to give us the release to allow us to become independent, and it took forever to get that done.
Yeah, I think that.
So we were
was
2
early
years school.
90s before that. Really
So we
happened.
were 2 years school. If you went to Coastal for 2 years, then you transfer up to South Carolina.
That's
Columbia.
right. Yeah. I remember that.
You remember the name Pistol Pete?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's Raleigh High School basketball at its
That's the
best.
man.
We had a place in Raleigh that's called Hayes Barton Swimming Pool, and they had 2 basketball courts out, 2 half courts, and that's when I got a chance to play against Pete and with Pete.
Wow, I didn't know that. See,
yeah.
that's
Man,
awesome.
that's impressive.
That's
there.
great.
But Pistol
Gee.
would come to Hayes Barton at 10 o'clock every morning, and he'd leave about 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. To this day, he never ever put a toe in the water. He played basketball all day long.
Wow.
And watching him play was unbelievable. I mean, he's one of the best ball handlers I've ever seen in my life, and I mean, he ate, slept, and lived basketball. That was it.
Yeah, that was it. Sports. I mean, we lived it. I mean, I probably would have gotten into video games as a kid, but I mean, we even had a thing called Explorer Scouts, which was kind of a spinoff.
That was when we had the green uniforms. Remember?
We couldn't afford uniforms. But the cool thing, this is how crazy it is. I grew up in this little town of about 6,000 people, Benson, and so I had the key to the gym in town. At 16 years old, I had the key. Wednesday night was Explorer night at the gym. And you had to have your parents sign off, and there was a guardian there, and you had to pay, your insurance in case something happened. But who would give a 16-year-old kid the key to the gym in the city? And we cleaned it up because we knew that if anything, any monkey business, it all went away.
That's true. That's true.
And you didn't want to do that. And basketball, baseball. It was just sports was huge, and so it had to have an imprint on you of the importance because we kind of were losing some of that.
Well, one of the things is that when Dan D'Antoni came to me back in his dream of doing
ding,
the
ding,
baseball
ding! Every
classic,
time we got to get a bell every time that name's mentioned. In
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, they came to me about being a sponsor in this tournament he was starting called a Beach Ball Classic. And I, of course, in the restaurant business, I sponsored it. And I will never forget, I decided, hey, I've got tickets. I'm going to go out and see what's going on. And I got the coach. It was being played at Coastal North Carolina because Sox City High School gym had burned down.
Okay.
And they had to play at Coastal. The whole school had gotten messed up. But anyway, I go there, and there's a huge crowd. I mean, it is packed. And I'm like, daggone. This is good basketball, but I never thought we would draw that many people to a high school basketball tournament. Unfortunately, the championship game was played on the night that Clemson was playing Ohio State for the national championship.
No, wow.
Was that when Woody Hayes went berserk?
Yeah. I said,
a little
Danny,
more newsworthy.
I said, Danny, I says, we got a problem here. I said, who's going to come to this game when Clemson's playing on national television? So we moved the game up an hour. And I go out there, and the place is packed. And there's two teams playing, and not a one of them from South Carolina. Christ the King out of New York with Wendell Alexis, an All-American that went to Syracuse, was playing W.T. Woodson out of Virginia with Tommy Amaker.
Wow.
And Tommy was a junior at that time.
Okay.
The place was packed. So I started asking, I said, why are you not home watching the football game? They said, it's on TV, and we're recording it on the VCR. We'll go watch it because we couldn't see this and see that too. So we wanted to come and see this game. And I'm sorry, it wasn't W.T. Woodson. It was St. John's out of D.C. with John Potts was in the championship game. But Woodson was in the tournament. And I said, Danny, I says, you've got something going here. You have no idea what you've started. And he says, I need help. I can't do this and coach. Will you help me? I says, I would love to, but I want to make it something bigger than what it is. I wanted to duplicate it like the Dixie Classic.
Okay.
So the Dixie Classic was my foundation
All right.
in running sporting events and how they should be run. And we got the support of the local people. We brought great teams in, great players, and we played at Sox City High School, and it has just mushroomed from there. And it's something for our area to be proud of that. I mean, right now, this year, I mean, every year we fight and who's number one, who's number two in tournaments. Whether it's City Palms the week before Christmas down in Fort Myers, Florida, or Beach Ball Classic here, or something going on in California. This year, hands down, this is the number one high school tournament in the country this year. It's already been recognized by that. And it is the only true high school tournament. And when I say true high school tournament, that means I don't have the prep schools in it like Montverde, Oak Hill, IMG, Sunrise Academy. Because I do not believe that it's on a level playing field if you've got a school that's recruiting kids to come down for basketball to go against a high school team, that these kids have got a great team and they deserve the recognition. So the Beach Ball Classic, from this point on, is a true high school tournament.
Okay.
And the only and this year, the only teams that are ranked higher than the teams I've got coming in are Montverde and IMG and I think it's Sunrise Academy, 1, 2, and 3. We started number 4. We have that this year for the first time ever. 8 of the top 27 teams in the country playing in this tournament.
Wow. And
I went back and looked and researched it. There's never been a high school tournament that's had 8 of the top 27 teams playing in it.
That's huge.
And that's including prep schools.
That's crazy.
Well, now, it's in its inception, what was the furthest school to play here back in those days? I know it wasn't California, was it?
First, New York City.
Yeah, well, see, and that was big for around here.
Our first California team, I'm trying to think, I believe it was, I want to say it was Simi Valley with Don McLean. I'd have to go back and truly research that, but I think it was similar. No, I take that back. No, it was Crenshaw. Crenshaw was the first team out of California. They were number 1 in the nation. We had Crenshaw and DeMatha, number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation.
What year was that?
Oh, gosh, I'm trying to
I hate
think.
to put you on the spot.
That was probably 83, 84.
Okay.
And Crenshaw had a big winning streak, and they were recognized as the national champions. And we were hoping to have the Crenshaw and DeMatha in the championship game. And Crenshaw got beat by Seton Hall Prep with Franz Volsi. Franz and Seton Hall Prep ended up playing DeMatha in the championship. And this is back when Tommy Johnson was coaching at West Florence, and West Florence had a national ranked team. And that was one of the best state teams we had. They were going to be the first team probably to try to have a chance to really win this tournament, but they got beat by DeMatha in overtime, and then they beat Crenshaw in the third place game. But that was a great tournament then.
That's impressive, because I remember back when Deacon Tony started that, and you guys were, when you came aboard, I remember thinking, even all the locals, they would, it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
A lot of them say, well, I don't know if I'll go to the game or not. Is it that big a deal? I remember, and a lot of folks thought, well, it's a little tournament. They've got a little tournament going on over here. We might go check it out. I'm going to tell you what, that thing just is skyrocketed. I mean, anybody who misses the Beach Ball Classic has really missed an opportunity to see some of the best basketball players that will go on to the NBA. And you've had some big dogs play in here.
Well, if you remember 1989, when we had the snowstorm. Of course, we had Hugo
and then the snow. Yeah.
The only road that had been scraped was the road going down Soxtee Highway to Soxtee High School, and a local person with a front end, with one of those scrapers, road scrapers, scraped the road so people could get down there to it and scrape the parking lot. So that's how serious the tournament was back in the 80s when it was.
Well, now what about Kobe Bryant?
Kobe Bryant played there. Vince
yeah.
Carter, Kenny Anderson, King Rice, Rasheed Wallace. I mean, Jimmy Jackson and Kenny Anderson in the championship game was one of the outstanding games, best games we've had as far as one-on-one competition. And you go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And think about this. Just a few years ago, you had Luke Kennard. Mm-hmm. Okay. Luke Kennard broke Michael Bibby's scoring record. The next night, a young man named Jalik Felton from Marion, from Mullins actually, broke the scoring record. And then Luke Kennard came back the next night and broke it again.
Yeah.
And then Jalik came back and broke it again.
That was crazy.
And so back-to-back records being broken by two outstanding players. And of course, Luke has gone on and playing in the NBA, and Jalik is out playing in international ball in Europe. So, but we've had some unbelievable players. And when we moved from Soxtee High School to the Convention Center, it sort of took the ambiance away of being a packed high school gym.
A little different.
But we were able to accommodate more people. And the biggest crowd we've ever had for a high school game in this county was Raymond Felton playing against Sebastian Telfair from New York City. And that's when we had almost 7,000 people in a 6,000-seat facility. They were standing 8, 9 deep. And if in the program, if you'll see the picture, this is where action is. That's the picture taken from that game. It was unbelievable.
That's great.
We could have topped that just a few years ago if Zion Williams had not messed up his foot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because he would have gone against R.J. Barrett, and that would have been number 1, number 2 players in the country going head-to-head, and we'd have had the same type deal.
Yeah. Well, the Beach Ball Classic is still on. It's gonna be some great basketball. What are the dates of the tournament? I got about 45 seconds.
Of course, the boys' tournament starts on December the 26th and goes to the 31st. Mm-hmm. We're going to have, like I said, a great tournament, and we've got, like I say, these 8 national ranked teams. But think about here, I got North Mecklenburg, 30-1 last year. They ranked in the top 35 in the country. I didn't even mention that as part of the 8 teams. And then you got Christ the King out of New York City, which has always been in the top 35 or 40 teams in the country. So these are teams that are also they're playing that are not nationally ranked. And then we got a local team out of Wilmington that's going to be coming to Cape Fear Academy, who's state champion in the private school league.
Okay, they're good.
So,
all right, well, we'll get you back on the next show, and we'll talk about the girls' side of the tournament.
sounds good.
All right, sounds good.
right.
More River Talk coming up. Stay with us.